Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Really glad you could join me today out here in the vegetable gardens. A beautiful morning here in September that the Lord has provided. Well, I have a subscriber on YouTube. He asked a really good question, and his name is John. He says, I just started a 4-foot by 8-foot raised garden this year and planted peppers. They are still growing, however, most of the fruit is really small. The heat makes it hard to grow here in Texas. My question is, how do you get them to grow so big? And so I'm going to answer that question for John, at least how I get to grow my peppers so big. So thanks for joining me today out here in the garden. So right behind me is where I grow my green bell peppers in my 18-foot by 30-foot raised garden bed here. And covering this garden bed here, I have a 6 mil polyethylene black plastic. You know, I use the black plastic in this bed because it's mostly topsoil, and I do amend it with some of my composted leaf mulch. But it really has a lot of weeds in it, and a lot of weed seeds. My other gardens, I use my certified weed-free composted leaf mulch amended with topsoil, so I hardly get any weeds in that garden. But, you know, using the black plastic, you know, it suppresses the weeds, it holds in the soil moisture, and it also warms the soil up, you know, and your green peppers and your tomatoes and your, you know, melons, zucchini, they're heat-loving plants. They love the heat, you know, and so, you know, my peppers here have always flourished here in my growing them under my black plastic. Although I do have some peppers in the back, some Hungarian hot wax peppers that I don't use. I'm not growing them under black plastic, and although they seem to be doing pretty well, but you know, you want to make sure your soil is nice and fertile. You know, it's recommended every 3 years to have your soil tested. You know, to check the nutrient level in your soil. You also want to make sure your soil is nice and loose. You know, if you just have regular topsoil, you might want to amend that with, you know, cow manure or horse manure. You want to make sure it's a certified herbicide-free manure too, you know, because I've heard of people growing their vegetables in these different manures, and the vegetables are stunted because they have some kind of herbicide in them. So you have to be careful using any type of cow manure or horse manure. That's one reason I use my composted leaf mulch, is I don't have to worry about herbicides in that. And you know, also, you know, once you get your soil tested, you might need to amend your soils with certain nutrients to bring it up to certain nutrient level. You also want to make sure that you have the proper amount of sunlight. You know, these peppers and tomatoes here in this garden, they get a good 8 hours of sun. You know, the more sun, the better. You know, your vegetables that have a root or a fruit, they require 6 to 8 hours of sun. Your leafy greens, you know, they can go 4 to 6 hours of shade. And so you do want to make sure your peppers, you know, and you can grow peppers even in containers on a patio or a balcony, as long as you have enough sun there. Also, if you fertilize your soils, you know, you want to make sure, like with peppers and your tomatoes especially, but your peppers as well, you know, that you don't add a lot of nitrogen. You know, they like more of the phosphorus or potassium, because that's what helps develop the root and the fruit. You know, the greens, your kale, your collards, your Swiss chard, they like a lot of nitrogen because they're all leafy green. So if you do have your soil tested, you know, you may need to even add some of the nitrogen, some nitrogen to your soil, because the nitrogen seems to leach out of your soils pretty easily. But I do really want to emphasize your soil being nice and fertile and loose, you know, because you want, just like us human beings, you want to eat a healthy diet, so we're healthy and strong. You know, we have a strong immune system, and it's similar to plants. You know, you want your soil to be nice and fertile, you know, because the stronger and healthier the plants are, the better they're going to resist, you know, disease, just like us human beings. And so, you know, also like on my peppers here, the skins are nice and thick-skinned peppers, you know, because again, they're nice, healthy soil. So let's take a closer look at some of my green bell peppers in my garden. So I have 3 rows of 8 green bell peppers here. And we just love our green bell peppers. These are the King Arthur variety. But they have just really been producing all summer long, and they're just very healthy. Also, if you leave your peppers on the plant long enough, they begin to turn red. That's how you end up with red bell peppers. And they are a beautiful pepper. Well, anyhow, I hope this answered your question about how do you get your green bell peppers to grow so big. And if you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the section below. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so you can receive future videos. And you can also visit us at plantsmartliving.com. So anyhow, I just want to thank you for joining me out here in the garden, and I hope you have a wonderful day today. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.